Okay, so now after we have gotten out our form, basic form, I still have my balls rattling around inside the paper towel, and I'm ready to add the detail onto my spirit rattle. And if you remember, here is my drawing, my sketch that I did to size, and here's what it's going to turn out to look like. So I had planned out at the beginning that I wanted to add the body of the frog or the lizard on top of the rock instead of carving it down in. So if your design calls for lower level of detail, then you want to carve out. If you want things to stick up higher, then you want to add on to your ball. So the way I got that to look like this was I formed by patting down, making some flat clay shapes, and maybe kind of cutting around it just like you'd cut out a cookie dough, the shape of his head. And now remember, anytime we want to add one shape to another shape or piece to another piece, we have to score and slip. So I'm going to score the underside. Don't poke all the way through the clay. Just kind of chunk it up and rough it up there. And then I'll just kind of make a little outline of where I want it to go. I think it's got to look about like that. So now I'm going to score that area. I could test it out to make sure that's big enough. That'll work. And put on the slip. Spread it on there like frosting. Like peanut butter maybe is a better analogy. And you don't have to do it to both sides as long as you've got enough there. So then I'm going to put that down, just gently but firmly put it down, and then take a tool and I'm going to do what I did before when I joined the two pieces of the ball together. I'm going to kind of create a little closing. I'll call it, I'm closing the seam over just to make sure that that doesn't get itself shrunken and come off. So try not to lose your basic shape by pushing too hard. You have to find out what just the right amount of pressure is. Okay, so I think I've got a good start on his head. Now I am going to do his arms, and I've already kind of pre-made a couple of shapes for his arms. So I'll put those on. Oops, almost forgot. Score and slip. Remember, if your pieces fall off, it was probably because you did not take the time to score and slip well enough. Now, when I look at those little hands, I can go back in later after the clay is a little bit hardened and carve out those little fingers. But for now, I'm just going to kind of make them into, kind of blobby ends that'll get formed later. And I could even add onto that if it wasn't wide enough as a hand. Your clay should be a little bit drier after it's set. Been sitting for a week. Mine's still really soft. Okay, so I've got one hand, and I'll do the other one. Make sure that you connect all those edges down so there's no gaps or holes. Smooth it with your finger. Okay, now when I get to the back of him, you see that the back of him doesn't stick away so far from the basic shape of the ball. So I'm going to just carve that out later. So I'm just going to smooth that down, his head down to the basic shape of the ball, smooth his arms down. And I think I'm going to carve his tail out later. That didn't stick up too well. I might add a little skinny tail. Okay, so his little skinny tail comes around that side. Just like playing with Play-Doh. Roll it into coils and you can do a lot of different shapes. And just kind of press it down to make the tail probably longer than I need it to be. That's pretty good. Oops, almost forgot to score and slip. You'll probably know if you did not score and slip something. Forget to score the area where it's going to go. So the tail is all the way out to here. Now, the other point I wanted to talk about was texturizing, but making sure that you don't carve so far down with your texture that you lose the thickness. Because as you carve away, you're taking away some of your clay. And remember, if you feel like it's out of round, remember that trick I showed you in the last video where you just kind of tamp it? You just take it and turn it lightly as you tamp it down on the table. And you can get it back into round. Okay? So now after it gets a little leather hard, they call it, I will be ready to start poking the holes, and probably now is when I should add his eyes. I could do it when it's leather hard, but we'll go ahead and add his eyes on now. I'm just going to roll a couple balls. For the area. And it's really important to take a little tool and kind of, like I said, close up that seam so that you can't see any crack there or your eye is going to fall off. And just take your finger after you've closed that seam and smooth it around. When it's leather hard, you'll be able to do some more smoothing. Okay, just a couple little things that I wanted to show you. I kind of created his little fingers by just poking and moving the clay around. Use that to smooth your clay. Then I'm going to just go around and poke all my little holes, because that was my texture, my pattern. And if I want to rescore some areas to give definition, I can do that. And this is where I'll start carving in to create kind of the body in the back with his tail coming around. Rescore some areas here. Make some eye holes. We can take some, I think the bottom of that might be better for eye holes. Make his nostrils. Okay, now the one very important thing, and I'll be going around to check make sure everybody has done this, is to find a place to put a hole. And I'm going to take the end of this tool and just poke it all the way through, but so you should have at least that much of a hole. Okay, and then you can put your initials on the bottom. I'll put Mrs. Holton, Mrs. H, and you can put 2018 if you want to, so you remember someday what year you made your spirit rattle.